Hello everyone, I'm Melanie. Today I'm going to show you a tutorial to remove objects inside of Photoshop using these powerful techniques that will help you work easier and more effectively. So overall, faster workflow. Okay, let's get into it. Let's dive in and get started. In this image, I have a beautiful photo of a lifeguard stand, but I've got this trash can here, and it's kind of, messing up my photos. So I'd like to remove this trash can. So the first example I'll show you is how to use the ContentAware Fill tool. And so basically what I'm going to do is make sure you duplicate your layers, by the way, so you're working non-destructively, meaning that you can always go back to your original image and have all those pixels intact in case you need to ever have them again, right, working through a project. So make sure you duplicate, then go over to the tools panel and select the lasso tool. L is the shortcut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just roughly draw around and make a selection on this garbage can that I want to remove. Okay, and then when I go to the ContentAware Fill option, you'll see that I get a new window, and that new window is going to open up inside of Photoshop, and the right side is going to show you what Photoshop is doing its best guess to remove this object, and on the left side is going to show you a green sampling area. That's the area that Photoshop's actually using those pixels to sample to fill in the selected area that you don't want. So check it out. So I'm going to select ContentAware Fill, and this window comes up. Look on the right side here, and you'll see that my trash can is pretty much gone. Okay, so I can actually, so on the left side here, you'll see that this is the green area I was talking about. So I can say, I can see that I've got a shadow here, and I'd like to remove that shadow. So what I can do in this case is, I can zoom in here actually, zoom in here and use my slider bars. And what I can do is actually add to the selection, which is actually really cool. I can add to the selection even though I'm in this process already. I can go back and say, hey, I want to add to my selection that I want to remove. So with the lasso tool selected, you'll see that I have a plus sign next to it, meaning that I can add to the selection. So I'm going to just click and continue adding around here to remove this shadow area and connect it to the selection. When I release it, you'll see right here Photoshop's updating in real time and showing me that removal right there. So as you can see, fantastic, amazing. I mean, really awesome. On the right side here, you have these additional fill settings that can help you fine-tune the selection and the pixels surrounding it. But as you can see, this is a pretty cool, it removed everything, so awesome, really fantastic. So basically, color adaptation works with brightness and contrast of the images. If you mouse over it, of the content area I meant. If you mouse over it, you'll see it gives you like a short description of what it does. Rotation has to do with if you have angled or patterned in the content area. It will help Photoshop solve better. And scale has to do, we'll scale up or size up the content area as well. And mirroring is flipping or horizontally if you've got symmetry in your content area, that it will help Photoshop solve. I literally feel that the default settings work amazingly, especially if you're working with high resolution images, which we all need to be working with anyways. So let's check out color adaptation. And so by default, Photoshop users, we think that the higher something is, if we crank up the values, the better it will give us the results. Not the case here. So you look at the area I'm sampling, and if I go to color adaptation and I set that to very high, you'll see that I start to get some blurring, and I don't want that. That's kind of like smeary pixels, doesn't look good. So really I find that these settings, you really just have to experiment and play around with them because each image is different. each image has different textures, lighting, shading, and color information, right? So really, you just play around with them. That's the best option. There is no right and wrong way here, I feel. So when you're happy with your selection, with the solve you've got, go to output settings and say new layer, and then click OK. Inside of Photoshop, back inside of the viewport here, we can see that we have a very nice image without the trash can. So, and Photoshop worked non-destructively by putting that on its own layer. So check it out. Like so, in the layers panel, that is what we removed. And so we can see it works non-destructively on its own. So really powerful there. Okay, let's jump to the next example here. That's the spot healing tool, magical, lifesaver. Saves you a ton of extra steps. I want to remove these cones, and so you can see just like that, I can remove them, and I can remove them very quickly. Okay, this is a great example for using the spot healing tool. The spot healing tool is generally mostly used for photo retouching, like models and actors and things like that, for removing pimples and lines and all of those little things that you want to remove. Tiny little small things, but you can also use it for objects like this that are spaced far away. So I find that it's really helpful and quick to use it this way. So again, duplicating your layer, Command J. When I bring my mouse over into the viewport, you'll see that I can increase and decrease the brush size, and basically I can use the left or right bracket keys to increase or decrease the brush size. Using this tool, try to get as snug as possible over the object you're trying to remove. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller right here, and I'm going to go like that. And right there, it is gone. And look at the beauty of it. Like Photoshop did a fantastic job of blending those pixels seamlessly. It is amazing. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, having fun here. And let's try. I'll increase the brush just a little bit here. All right. I can do this all day, it's fun. Okay, so now I've got these larger ones, right? So let's see if it'll work. I'll increase my brush. Okay, so let's check that out. Photoshopped out a little bit. Look at that removal. That is amazing. Okay, so let's come over here and do that. And sometimes you have to try different ways. Let me give it a little more size. Okay, gone. Okay, all the cones are gone. And let's try to remove this guy as well. Okay, pretty fantastic. Check it out. All done. Okay, so just like that, that's the spot healing tool, magical, lifesaver. Okay, I've got this dragon, and he's got some fire coming out. And if you notice, it's an irregular organic shape, and it's also larger. So we're going to use, let's say we want to remove this fire. I'm going to use the ContentAware Patch tool this time. And that is going to match the texture. All of these ContentAware tools actually match texture, lighting, shading, etc. They're so powerful. Say we want to remove this fire from the image. I will zoom in here, use the hand tool to get the image here. So make sure that you are working on the layer, duplicating it, Command J. And this time I'll use the patch tool, okay? The patch tool, J again is the shortcut for it. On the options bar in the top, make sure it's set to normal and source is clicked in, okay? So then we want to, because it's an irregular shape and organic and sort of all over the place, I'll use the patch tool for this example. So I'll just click and drag and get a nice selection here. And you'll see that, so I've got my marching ants, and that means that I have a selected area that I want to remove. And so basically, some of these will ask you to rasterize. Okay, so you can just right click on the layer to rasterize it. So you will see what a fantastic job that Photoshop does, even though I've got different values of blue here from light to dark. Photoshop does a fantastic job with this patch, ContentAware Patch tool. So I'm going to move it here, and that's not really, so you can see it kind of mirrors and reflects what's going on. So you really do need some extra, you need the space that you're going to replace this with, right? You need the extra, those pixels to actually be available in the image. So you can see that once I released, Photoshop did a great job in matching seamlessly the color information in the pixels there, as well as some textures. And in this example here, I can just kind of go back in and, you know, just keep dragging, making selections and clicking out of it, clicking them into different areas. And so that's how the ContentAware Patch tool works. Now I want to go, so just like that, you can see that we got rid of the fire. So pretty cool stuff right there. Fourth example I want to show you is when you want to remove something that another object is really close to, what happens is that Photoshop, because it's sampling the areas around the selection, it can get confused sometimes and kind of put that image into the selection that you don't want. But I'll show you very quickly and easily how to solve this. So with the layer selected, I'm going to, let's say I want to remove this woman. I'm going to just lasso around her really quickly. So I have my marching ants, go back to Edit, ContentAware Fill. This window pops up and you look over here. Look what happened. So Photoshop, because it's sampling this green area, it's sampling the little girl as well. So basically what I can do is say, all right, Photoshop, you did a great job removing this lady, but I don't want, don't sample the little girl. So jump up to the upper left corner up here and where it says sampling brush tool, and we can come back in this and say don't sample her, and up on the options bar you can plus and minus to get your correct brush size. So I'll come here and I'll say, hey Photoshop, it's great but don't sample her, and check it out on this side. So just like that, Photoshop knew, it understood that you were telling it don't sample that area in the surrounding pixels. So awesome, 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 amazing stuff. And you know, I'm really happy with the results here. So I'm just going to output this to a new layer. Command D to deselect, and just like that, you can see that we have no woman in the photo. So again, Photoshop puts this on its own layer, so we're working non-destructively. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Stay tuned for a little more advanced tutorial on the same subject to remove an object when you've got an object that you want to remove and it's intersecting with another object. How do you remove that object? Help support this channel. Thank you.